Jake Humphrey's Platinum Sports Picks. Isn't it good being on board with PSP? Josh Mikulev and I are absolutely killing it. I don't think anyone gives out consistent winners as much as we do. Baseball at the moment is doing quite well, as is Roland Garros. We've got Dominic Thiem, that future looking really good, hoping to get that up tonight. And obviously the NRL has been lights out. We had about 3 or 4 bad weeks in the middle part of the season. And other than that, we've been really, really good. And we just keep winning. We keep winning, and that's what we're going to do all season. That's what we're going to do as long as I've, got access to a betting account. So with that, we are looking at round 13 of the NRL. Last night we had the State of Origin, which was an absolute disaster for Blues fans. I know we've got a pretty mixed group here at PSP in terms of the clients. A lot of you guys are Queensland fans, but I believe the majority of you guys are Blues fans, and it was really upsetting for me the way the game went down last night. We just weren't good enough. It happens every year. We come up against a team like Queensland with Thurston and Smith and Cronk and Inglis, and we have a less talented team than what they do, and when you're lacking talent, you've got to make up for it somehow with structure or coaching, selection, something, and we just didn't do that. We had a team out there last night that didn't look ready, and we had guys like Matt Moylan and Josh Mansour, who I thought were relatively poor. I thought Josh Morris was poor. I thought that Adam Reynolds and James Maloney played relatively well, but I thought our backs were poor overall, and we couldn't get a roll on most of the time. There was a very slow game, and I think we had a hard time getting meters. Greg Bird was quiet, Paul Gallen was pretty quiet, and we had a ample possession. We just weren't able to do anything with it, and that's what happened. We lost 6-4. We had a crucial missed conversion by Adam Reynolds, which a lot of people should be looking back on now, 20 in from touch or 15 in from touch, which, would have given us the 2 points that we needed at the end of the game. And in matches like that are always so low scoring, we really need every single point that we can get, and we didn't get the 2 points there. And Adam Reynolds, such a good goal kicker, wasn't able to produce there, and that just tells the story of how the Blues have gone over the last 10 years, We don't deliver. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. We have a futures bet on Queensland to win the series, and that's looking fantastic now at $1.80. So moving on to the NRL this week. The big story in the NRL this week for round 13 is pretty much what players are going to back up from Origin. And generally, I think about 80% of the players do back up from Origin, with the exception of a few guys who are dealing with general soreness or a couple of niggling injuries. And normally what happens is the players who don't back up, they often get scratched at the last minute, so it's pretty hard to get a read on. Normally the players will get named, all of them, and then, closer to kickoff we begin to hear some more late mail about the players who might not be healthy enough for the fixture. Now, we're going to start straight away. Now, just to let you guys know, this is the first time I've actually looked at the lines all week, and I'm coming to you guys right now on Thursday night at 9:07. The first time I'm looking at the lines, so this won't be a picks podcast, it's just going to be a bit of a chat, and I'm going to have a phone call with Josh a bit later on, because I can't ignore that guy's form, and we need to put our heads together as much as we can to try and get out a perfect week, because he's been going really, really well. He's been the form tipster for NRL over the last month, and I need to acknowledge that and accept that, and have a chat with the guy and try and figure out what he's thinking, because he's doing really, really well. The first game tomorrow night is the Canberra Raiders playing host to the Manly Seagulls. Now, the Manly Seagulls have a tremendous record against the Canberra Raiders. From what I can see here, they've won about 6 of the last 7 meetings between the two teams, have Manly. Including their last 2 that I can see at Canberra. Now, if I can have a look at the overall meeting between the two of them and kind of have a look, here we go, head-to-head. So, Manly Warringah Seagulls 113, Canberra at 110. The team list here have the Canberra Raiders with Edric Lee, Jeff Lima and Sean Fensom. None of those guys are in the lineup. We have Josh Papali named, backing up from Queensland. And I believe Paulo is going to be on the bench. Yes, he is. Interchange, the new acquisition coming from the Parramatta Eels, the big front row, who should add a lot to them and really make their pack even bigger and even scarier than what it is currently. Josh Papali, Junior Paulo, Clay Priest, Branko Lee, they're all coming in. So Edric Lee did a hamstring last weekend, and I think that he falls into the category of one of the wingers who you do lose a lot when he doesn't play. Branko Lee is a serviceable winger, but Edric Lee, as you can see, as you've seen in recent weeks against their game against the Warriors, he was able to score a 50-metre try. Against the Bulldogs, he was able to score a 50-metre try. These are tries that not every winger can score. Edric Lee's got a certain skill set that the Raiders need, and I think without him they will lack a little bit. But, they've still got the core there of Aiden Caesar, Blake Austin, Josh Hodgson, who's, staking his claim for the Dally M medalist, and then Josh Papali backing up, who should be fine for this one. And looking at the Manly Seagulls, their team is unchanged from last week. The only thing that, is quite noticeable when looking at the lineup is that Dylan Walker, after his horrific Origin game, is coming into play in the centres for Manly, with Jamie Lyon moving into the 5'8 position. I think Dylan Walker is much better suited to this position, and I think it's going to work out really well for Manly having him there. And I think Dylan Walker, the only thing he wants to do right now is get onto the footy field and kind of make up for what he did in a horrible 8 or 9 minutes on Wednesday night. Now, the line here is the Raiders opening as a 6-point home underdog. The Manly Seagulls, obviously, $2.80 underdogs head-to-head, and the total on Bet365 is 39.5. You can get the over there for $2 flat. So a little bit of action potentially coming in on the under here, as it appears to be the more popular choice. I've got to say, looking at this game straight off the bat, I don't really like anything. I think that the Raiders, as a 6-point favourite, is a pretty fair reflection of where they're going. They were able to cover 12 against the Bulldogs last weekend in a really, really good second half. They're gunning for their third straight win. They've had a couple of double-digit wins consecutively when you're talking about across the ditch against the Warriors, back home against the Bulldogs. And the Manly Seagulls really, at round 13 right now, not doing what a lot of people thought they would be doing. Given the fact that they have a good record down in Canberra and the fact that they have a relatively unchanged lineup, you have guys like Brett Stewart, Steve Maddai, Jamie Lyon, Daly Cherry Evans, Jake Trbojevic, Jamie Bureau, all of these guys, none of them played a single minute of Origin footy, whereas the Raiders have Josh Papali backing up. They've got Edric Lee, Jeff Lima and Sean Fensom all out. I think Manly, from a personnel standpoint, have a few more people available. I like their bench, Apasai Coruscant, Josh Starling, Brenton Lawrence and Varve. I think that if I had to go one way based on what the history has told us, I would probably lean towards Manly with the points, but, I'm having a little bit of a nightmare thinking about the Bulldogs handicap that we lost down the stretch last weekend. So a bit of a soft spot, a soft spot for the Raiders kind of thing. Like, I'm really respecting what they have been able to do recently. So I'm kind of a little bit hesitant. And, I am a pretty overs happy bettor, and that this match would be no exception. The way the Raiders are scoring points, I think that they'd be good for a 20 or 24 point game. And, this Manly team, given the success that they've had down there in Canberra, the last time they went down to Canberra, they scored 26 points. And the time before that they went down to Canberra, they scored 36 points. They've had no issue putting up points in the nation's capital, and I think that might continue with a well-rested team, and with Dylan Walker out wide and Jamie Lyon in the 6th position. So we'll move on from that one there. And the New Zealand Warriors playing host to the Brisbane Broncos. The Warriors find themselves as a 4.5 point home underdog, with the Broncos coming in at $1.54. You can almost pencil in the fact that the Broncos will have at least 1 to 2 players who won't play in this game, just because of the sheer amount of Origin players they had playing on Wednesday night. You talk about Corey Parker, Corey Oates, Matt Gillette, who got man of the match and had a tremendous game, got through a lot of work. It's tough, given the fact that these guys also, on the top of just having to back up from Origin, they've also got to do so, on the back of a flight over to New Zealand as well. So it doesn't make it any easier. That's why the line is 4.5 and a small line. The Broncos did lose last week. They hold a 17-15 record over the Warriors all time. And looking at the Warriors lineup, I'm looking at NRL.com right now, and what I have here is an unchanged lineup from the last time they took the field, and the Broncos have a wealth of changes. Corey Parker, Darius Boyd, Josh Maguire, Sam Thaiday, Travis Woodell all in the team. Andrew McCulloch, Greg Eden and Jaden Sewer are out. So all of these guys have been named to back up, and, I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt at this point. Sam Thaiday, Corey Parker, Josh Maguire, Darius Boyd, all those blokes can back up, but I don't think they'll be 100% fresh for this one. And even mentioning right now that I don't think those guys will be 100% fresh, I'm still not prepared to take the Warriors, who are an absolute disaster. The total is 41.5. I think that I probably like the under, if anything, in this one. I think that the Broncos, obviously they have a very good defense, and I think that the Warriors are going to struggle to score points against a defensive front like Brisbane. This one might be a bit of a stalemate early on. I think the unders are probably the best pick in this one, but as far as the first 2 games go, I'm going to have to put my head together. Josh and I are going to have to put our heads together and kind of, see if we can produce something for these first 2 games, because really, I don't love anything here. Now what we have is for the next game at 5:30 on Saturday, the North Queensland Cowboys playing host to the Newcastle Knights. This is one of the more one-sided games I've ever seen with an 18.5 point line. The Cowboys are going to be another team that are heavily affected by Origin backups. They did have quite a few people playing in the Origin game over the weekend. James Tarmage, Jonathan Thurston, Justin O'Neill, Matt Scott and Michael Morgan are all coming in, with Cohen Hess, Jerome Hughes, Javid Bowen and Ray Thompson all being omitted from this lineup to make way for those representative players. The Newcastle Knights, Dane Gagai, David Barner, Jeremy Smith and Pat Matiutai coming in, with Akila Uate and Corbin Sims out. So there's nothing going on for the Knights here. They're really a horrible team. Probably the worst team I've ever seen in the NRL. They do have an 18-14 record over the Cowboys all time, which is probably the only thing they've got going for them heading into this match, where they are an 18.5 point outsider. The total is 42.5, and I think a lot of people will be looking at that total thinking, damn, I like that over. It could be an absolute smashing. But the thing is, man, the Knights might not score a single point. One thing I did like in this game when I was kind of looking at the fixture, the first thing I thought was Knights team total, Knights team total, Knights team total. Surely they can't score any more than 10 points, and the team total right here is 10.5. I think that this Knights team may not score a try on the night. The Cowboys have a tremendous defensive record when they play up north, and I think that the under 10.5 team points for the Newcastle Knights could be a good bet to go with there. And I've also got no issue backing the Cowboys to cover that big line of 18.5. I think the Cowboys could absolutely drill Newcastle in this game, and I think that my bets tomorrow or later on tonight will reflect that assessment. Now, the next game after that, we have the Melbourne Storm playing host to the Penrith Panthers. The Penrith Panthers had a very, very upsetting loss the last time they played, which was a home game against the Titans, where they got pipped at the death. The Panthers just cannot put a team to the sword. They'll get a lead early and they'll always surrender that lead. They're winning games by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. They come into this one at Melbourne as a 2.5 point underdog, $2.20 head to head, and the total is 39.5. I immediately like the under in that game, but I'm going to look further into the lineups here and what we've got happening. The history shows that the Storm have won 4 in a row against the Panthers, and something like 7 of the last 8. And let's have a look at the overall head-to-head between the two teams and see if the recent form has kind of carried out through the years. And 23-7. So the Storm have won 23 games and lost 7 against the Panthers. And I think this line is a little bit fishy. I'm not sure why it isn't bigger. I think maybe we could have somebody who ends up pulling out... Oh, well, here we go. This is what's happening right now on NRL.com. I can see here... Okay. I'm sure a lot of you listeners already knew this, but I didn't know. I can see here that we've got Tohu Harris and Blake Green in the halves. I can see we've got Kenny Bromwich in the hooking position. Surely that can't be right. So basically what it's looking like is the Storm have just said, all right, we're not playing any of our Origin stars. We'll give them a rest. The Storm are a team who have been absolutely hauling ass over the last 6 weeks. They played a bunch of footy in Queensland. They played a bunch of grueling games. Their defence has been incredible. The Storm obviously find themselves right now in second position on the ladder by way of a 20 points differential on Cronulla. They're tied first. And mate, this Storm team is absolutely incredible. But without Cooper Cronk and Cameron Smith, I like the Panthers, man. The Panthers, top to bottom. Let me tell you their team. Matt Moylan, Josh Mansour, Wanga Blake, Isaiah Yeo, Dallin Watini, Zelezniak, Tyrone Peachy, Jamie Soward, Sam McKendry, Peter Wallace, Regan Campbell, Gillard, Bryce Cartwright, Trent Merrin, and Liani Larcher, with a bench of Sauai Matagi, Jeremy Latimore, Chris Grevesmore, who's a new acquisition, Sitaleki Akawola and Moses Leota on the bench there. I think this is a really strong Panthers team against a Storm team who are severely undermanned. Mate, I like this Panthers team. The NRL.com team has this one. This is what they say. If both teams line up as named on Tuesday night, this should be one tough encounter. Regardless of whether or not each team plays back up on Saturday night, the Storm should have no problems continuing their hot streak. I completely disagree. Completely disagree with that because, well, listen, I'm going to give these guys the benefit of the doubt and say that the team on Tuesday night may have included all these rep players, and now I can't see them here. But I am not going to back a team that has Tohu Harris in halfback and Kenny Bromwich in hooker. Someone tell me if this is a typo. Get on the podcast, get on the Spreaker website and comment underneath and tell me if that's a legitimate piece of information. So, for this game, I like the Panthers plus and I like the under. Okay? That's what I like, but hey, wait till the picks come out, man. All right, Sydney Roosters playing host to the West Tigers on Sunday. The Roosters are a 7.5 point favourite, and I'm not too sure why. I think I could be missing something here. Let's have a look who's backing up for the Tigers. This one's at Allianz Stadium, and the Sydney Roosters have won 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row against the Tigers. man, there's some one-sided historical mismatches in the NRL, isn't there? It's absolutely incredible. The Roosters are 19-8 all-time against the Tigers, since the Tigers obviously went from the Balmain and the Western Magpies to the West Tigers. NRL.com has the Roosters winning this one by 6 points. Looking at the team list, the Roosters have no changes to their lineup, expecting Boyd Cordner and Blake Ferguson to be backing up. The Tigers have James Tedesco back at fullback. Robbie Farah's playing. I must be missing something here. Why are the Roosters a 7.5 point favourite? I know they've got a good record historically against the Tigers. In fact, let me tell you something right now. The Roosters. Let's talk about the Roosters' winning margin over the Tigers. Okay, 2015 they won by 25. 2015 again they won by 32. 2014 a pair of games they won by 44 and 24. In 2013 they won by 42. 2012 they won by 24. 2012 again, they won by 14. So the Roosters hold a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive game winning streak, 13 plus over the Tigers, which to me is absolutely insane. Can't believe that. So it's really hard to go against that trend. But for this one, I think that this Roosters team is lacking a little bit of identity, and I would suggest that it's one of the weaker Roosters teams that they've fielded to play the Tigers. Not in terms of personnel. I mean, I can't really hate on the lineup the Roosters have out there. It's a bloody good team. But the only issue is they're really not playing like what their lineup suggests they should be playing. And the Tigers are coming off a really good win against the Broncos in Brisbane, something that is so difficult to do. And I think that the Tigers, as a 7.5 underdog, might be a reasonable play, but it also could be a bit of a trappy line as well. The Roosters could be poised for another big win over the Tigers, and I kind of like the over 36.5 in this one too, but this game to me is a little bit disgusting, a little bit gross. I'm going to wait on a conversation with Josh until I finalise what we've got there. 2 games left. I'm going to get through this pretty quickly because really, I'm not releasing any official picks anyway. I'm just kind of having a chat about it. The South Sydney Rabbitohs are playing host to the Gold Coast Titans, except this game is in Western Australia. Look, I have no problem continually backing the Titans with the points as long as they keep covering. They're absolute monsters against the spread. I think they're 8-3 against the spread overall. They're 4.5 point underdogs here, and the Titans are the most underrated team in the NRL, bar none. The most underrated team in the NRL. Don't tell me anyone else is more underrated than the Titans, because that is bullshit. The Titans don't get any love from the bookies. They don't get any love from the public. They play tough. They're well coached. They've got a good team, a good pack, and they stick it to the opponents every week. The only time they've had a big loss this season was when they went down 38 points to nil against Melbourne. But other than that, they've been competitive in pretty much every single game they've played in. And that was evident last week when they beat the Panthers on the road. I like the Titans plus 4.5 here, and I also think this game could be pretty low scoring with the total set at 40.5. Moving on to the Sharks and the Bulldogs. Or the Bulldogs and the Sharks, rather, because this is a Bulldogs home game at ANZ Stadium. The Bulldogs have won 4 of the last 5 meetings between the two teams. Let's have a look at their lineup and what their lineup is looking like. The Sharks are obviously an incredible team this season. The Bulldogs have a 17-9 record over Cronulla overall. David Clemmer, Josh Jackson, Josh Morrison, Will Hopewate will be coming in. Obviously, the big in there is Will Hopewate, who has been out due to religious commitments. Greg Eastwood will be missing from this game, which I think is a big out. And the Sharks team is unchanged from the last time they played. Let's talk about this Sharks team who are coming first on the ladder. Ben Barber, Sasai Feki, Jack Bird, Gerard Beale, Valentine Holmes. All of those 5 players are in really good form, and none of them backed up from Origin. Chad Townsend, Andrew Rafida, Michael Ennis, obviously James Maloney at the 6th position, Sam Takatizi, Luke Lewis, Wade Graham, Paul Gallen. Mate, this Sharks team is incredible. They're incredible. I love them. I'm obviously a big Sharkies fan, and I love the way they're playing. I think that they, as an underdog in this game, can beat... I know they're a slight favourite, and I think they'll beat the Bulldogs in this one. Obviously, it's a tough matchup against the Doggies, but I think they will beat them here. And that's something that I'd look at. The total of 34.5 is incredibly low, and I guess that we'll wait and see if the weather permits an underplay on that one. Anyway, that's all I'm talking about. I raced through that really quickly. I've got a bunch of uni work. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast for you guys. Listen to it. Tell me what you think. And I'll have the plays out within the next 24 hours in combination with Josh's picks as well. Thanks for listening, guys. Hey, Platinum Sports Picks. We're the best. We are honestly the best. MLB, tennis, and rugby league all going incredibly. I hope you're enjoying it. I'll talk to you guys later.